Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Monday edition video. A bit delayed getting this video out. Mrs. Flimsy and I have been waiting for a delivery today that requires our attention when it arrives, so I didn't want to be in the midst of recording this video and it not have to stop the video halfway through and then refresh myself, but it still hasn't arrived, so I gave up and now finally recording the video. So today, we are featuring the Tier 9 American Premium Battleship, the USS Illinois. And this is a very fun battleship to play. It is an Iowa hull, but with quad turrets being essentially Des Moines guns. They are Des Moines guns, except just 4 guns per turret, giving you 12 in total. And so I've covered a lot of videos on the ship talking about is Illinois worth it, so on and so forth. I'll link some of those videos at the end of this. But what I want to focus on in this video is talking about and featuring the max reload build for the USS Illinois. And basically that means extending your secondary battery range in order to pick up Fearless Brawler, which does a negative 10% reduction in reload time. So let's say you go for the standard, let's say very standard, you go for the accuracy build, Illinois. Means you're going to have a 9-second reload time. If you take the main battery reload mod in upgrade in slot 6, excuse me, then you're going to drop down to a 7.92 second reload time. And then if you also go for Fearless Brawler, whenever an enemy ship is within your secondary range, you get a negative 10% reduction in your reload time, which brings us down to, I think it was like 7.2 second reload time, something like that. So then you want to build into your secondary range. And my phone is blowing up so much right now, and it's so distracting me that I have no idea what the heck's going on. So yeah, so 7.2 second reload time when you have an enemy ship within the secondary range. So that means in the third slot, you would pick up, rather than going for the artillery plotting room to get more range, which is what I do in my standard preferred Illinois build, you go for the upgrade for the secondary build, which improves your accuracy and range, I believe, from the secondary battery by 20%. So you can see right now our gun range is 18.5, but with the artillery plotting room in slot 3, then it is over 21 kilometers. I can't quite remember the exact one. So then if you're picking up Fearless Brawler, that means I need to give up one of the 4-point skills, and so for that we've given up the concealment. So when you build in the max concealment on the Illinois, I think it's 12.8, 12.9, or maybe it's 12.85, can't quite remember. But when you're not running concealment, which we should go dark here in just a minute, I think, but the planes are spotting us. I believe we are 14.3. Yeah, my bloom's still staying up because I'm firing. I think it's 14.3. So the idea with a build that focuses on getting these 2 and 3mm guns, Des Moines guns, reloading as quick as possible, means that you're going to be pushing up with islands. You want to be relatively close to the enemy, ideally within that 10.5 kilometers. So in this essence, for me, I try to play it similarly to how I do Salem and Des Moines, and that is using the islands. So I'm using the islands to close the distance. So we've used the islands to kind of block our broadside as we push it up through the sea and capping it. And here I kind of get to drift behind the island, and actually I can go dark here too if the planes aren't spotting me. And with having Des Moines guns, it means we have the shell arc to fire over these islands as well. So the goal being we can play comfortably in this type of situation, but also that if we get a little bit more closer, we can get that Fearless Brawler ticking for these 2 and 3mm guns, which is ultimately the goal. Overall, I think, to just answer the question real quick, if you're wondering about picking Illinois up, I do recommend it. Granted, Ohio, I would recommend picking up first, for sure, before Illinois, as it's just a really great ship. Where, with Illinois, it's a mix between the Iowa and a Des Moines. kind of just those two mixed together. So with that being said, as I've stated, the premise is how can I go for the max reload build possible? And so we're about to start seeing it tick here shortly once I start approaching Bravo cap, because one of the things that Illinois does well that Des Moines and Salem can't is that she can tank more bow on with these engagements against enemy cruisers and battleships, alongside an island or maybe even out in the open, where Illinois and Des Moines can't. Also, that you have the benefit that you have a greater health pool. As you can see, 68,100 hit points, where I think Des Moines, Salem around 45k, but I don't exactly remember off the top of my head, but it's somewhere around there, give or take. So you can just get away with more things with the Illinois because you're a battleship with cruiser guns than what you can get away with in Des Moines, Iowa. Granted, there are things you could make the argument for maneuverability, so on and so forth. But you have this Iowa hull, so we had the Iowa armor scheme along the entirety of the battleship. Now, one of the things with the Illinois is that she takes, the shells take quite a distance to travel when you're firing long range. And so these guns do really well, start performing really well once you get within, I don't know, let's just say 13 kilometers and under. I feel like, you can feel like you can be pretty confident landing your salvos. Now, if you're shooting a destroyer or clip air, that's going to be, a different story just because of their speed. But here we're just chilling out. We're focusing the Minnesota as he's pushing up into Bravo cap. And then we're keeping an eye, maybe this Riga, maybe this Jean Bar are going to come nose out towards us. So let's switch over to the armor piercing because you have that nasty, filthy Des Moines AP, Salem AP, that's just makes it really fun. I do have the standard build. I do upgrade commander build video. I will link at the very end of this video. This build I think that I'm doing right now, and you'll see a little more use of here in a moment, I think is only really best for ranked. I don't think it's a good randoms build nor a clan battle build, whenever it is tier 9 again. So I have a different video for that, and just talking about my overall build, which is quite similar to, like, let's say a Vermont build. So here, Baltimore makes a mistake. He decides to pull out in front of us. He's panicking because there's being pressure applied. So rather than just kind of staying bowing around the island, which should have been better for him, he starts running out here. And so we can just easily switch between the AP, the high explosive, as he is kind of swinging back and forth. And we don't want to push out beyond the island. We want to keep the island between us and the enemy ships, because we want to isolate our engagements. Whenever you're playing in World of Warships and you're taking on enemy ships, if you can always isolate one-on-one engagements, that's fantastic. As I'm kind of excited to finish off this Baltimore when we're able to, because you can see we had the Graf Zeppelin pushing in. And I'm getting that max reload build. So I think, looks like with Adrenaline Rush, we're beneath 7 seconds now. Let's see if I can catch it here. I can't quite tell. Maybe like 6.7 as we pick off the Baltimore there. And then now we just switch focus to the Graf Zeppelin, which we're going to be mindful of his secondaries as he pushes in. So some very nice, lovely, high explosive salvos. So we're just applying a lot of pressure up here and taking on his enemy ships as we pick up the high caliber. And Graf Zeppelin, of course, is going to be focusing us, as now his secondaries, you can see, are shooting at us. So one of the things that you can do with these 2 and 3 millimeter guns is when you're taking on enemy battleships, often you can just penetrate their bow and stern with the high explosive versus trying to shoot the superstructure. That's something I'm always having to regularly remind myself with these guns. As I'm staying angled out just enough to get the rear turret, also focusing here on the Graf Zeppelin, and then being mindful what this Jean Bar and Riga are up to. So if we get the kill here on the Graf Zeppelin, which we do, now we're going to switch focus onto the Jean Bar, and we don't have to worry about any more of those pesky planes. So the other great thing too is that you get the Iowa heal. So it's a little bit better than a traditional, but it's not a Conqueror heal or anything like that by any means. But you're able to heal back a good portion of damage. So now that the Pomeran decides to roll out here, that means I can also move up a little bit more And so first we're aiming up towards his gun, so we're, not surprisingly, we're gonna get a lot of non-penetrations there. So I just need to switch to high explosive, and here I'm a little distracted. Honestly, I should be just shooting his bow, and I'm purposely trying to get the side of his superstructure there. But you can see these guns, they don't have Des Moines accuracy. You know, that's actually a pretty tight group, and you saw the group before that, like we had very wide horizontal dispersion. Even when you're firing at this close range, so it's kind of a funny thing of how these guns work sometimes, where you feel like they can be very tight dispersion sometimes, but more often than not, they're pretty wide in how they go, especially when you're firing on enemy ships at range. So now we're going to push up and take on the Riga. I think one of the other things I did with this build is that I took the propulsion in slot 4 versus the damage modification, just to get that greater propulsion when moving up along islands, so on and so forth. So so you will just overall take a little bit more damage, especially if your damage control party's on cooldown. So that's another thing that I talk about in my upgrade commander build video, and comparing what I think of the overall best build to go is, and then this secondary second option of a build, as I really want this Riga to go broadside because these AP shells just slap. But this very aggressive, this is a very more aggro build here with the Illinois with these guns. So naturally, our secondaries are getting some action here. To be noted, even though we extended the secondary battery range, the secondaries aren't really worth building into beyond just trying to boost the range. You can see we've only had 29 hits, and we've been pretty close to a lot of ships, especially in the last half engagement of this battle. So this just gives you an idea if you were wondering about trying to maximize your DPM, but I found that the standard build has worked just fine. So 143,000 damage, we got fireproof, dreadnought, and the high caliber, with the 2 destroyed. So overall, really nice match, and just being able to utilize the islands and pushing in and applying a lot of pressure on enemy team, which you can do really well with the Illinois because she's a battleship hull with Des Moines guns, and she can just tank a lot more than what a Des Moines Salem can with enemy engagements. So 15 plane shot down, 1,967 base experience. And then 800,000 potential damage. We took 93,000 damage, 25,000 fires, but main battery 113,000 damage to it alone, and only 4,252 with secondary battery damage. And then with this ship being a research bureau ship, she gets some additional perks, and then you can see what it looks like with the premium account in terms of the credits and XP earnings. So I'll link the other videos here at the end of this one if you want to check out Illinois a bit more. She's a really fun battleship. I just played her a couple of days ago and had a fun battle, and taking on a Slava and Montana and some other enemy ships. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you subscribe, thanks so much. I appreciate it. When we hit 1,400 subscribers, I will do a 1,400 subscriber live stream here on YouTube. So until next time, take care.